Do you think 9/11 was a conspiracy?
Are we gonna, dude? Let's
I just
Mega
wanna know
64
yes or
this
no.
up.
We're in the middle of Assassin's Creed.
I just want to know
Assassin's
personal
Creed.
views.
I don't
Yes
even.
or no?
I've never seen that game.
Yes or no?
I never even played it,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that we're talking about
That's
that.
a yes. How could
No,
you?
I
How
don't
could
think
you?
it's a conspiracy. I don't think it's a conspiracy, but something is not right. Something about. I'm not saying the government did it. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying like George Bush and Dick Cheney were like,
What makes
let's
you
go
think that,
fly
though?
some planes.
What's the one like loose?
Because,
end?
dude.
What sticks out in your brain? That's
Here's
like,
the thing.
That fucks it all up for me.
Here's the thing. I've actually done research on this.
Okay.
Because my hobby is politics, which nobody would have ever guessed. But no, politics. Like,
all right.
So like, I mean, obviously this was a huge thing in the world of politics in 2001, even 2002, 2003. Like I read the 9/11 Commission report. Like, I watched a bunch of documentaries. Yeah, it's like 500 pages. I read a bunch of documentaries. I read debunk. Am I fucking boring you? You're on the phone?
No. I'm getting the emails ready.
The 9/11 Commission report, the response to that thing. I watched all these documentaries about it.
Did you see Spare Change?
Loose change.
Oh, I'm thinking of something else.
And zeitgeist. But that's not like those things go into a whole different direction that I don't even think. But it is pretty weird.
Okay.
It is pretty weird. Here are the things that are weird about the 9/11 event.
All right.
One, that the guy who owned the World Trade Center, the guy who owned it, a week before, he's owned it forever. And a week before, takes out like a $300 million insurance policy on the buildings. A week before.
Yeah.
And then they go down, and the guy's like a billionaire. Secondly, the second thing that's interesting about 9/11, it is that the only, in the history of the world, not just America, history of the world, the only towers, buildings, anything, castles that have been hit by a plane and crumbled like they did. Anywhere in the world, ever, in the history of the world. It's the only time it's ever happened. So, and if you watch those videos slow down of them falling and crumbling down, you can see little bombs going off. You could see it, dude. You could see it. Like, I'm not making this up.
Wow.
You could see it happen. And the way that they crumble, they did the split screen on like Loose Change and Zeitgeist and stuff. They do split screens of that and a building being demolition, and it's the same thing. They also show a building that like caught on fire it took days for buildings that were caught on fire. Like the Sears Tower, the original Sears Tower in Chicago caught on fire. Those buildings, it took days for them to crumble down. That's weird. And then also on top of it, World Trade Center Building 7, which isn't even mentioned in the 9/11 Commission report, is a block and a half away, and it's the only building that crumbles. It crumbles out of nowhere for no reason. It just crumbles to the ground. It didn't get hit by a plane. They said there was a fire on the 3rd floor, and that's why it crumbled. This is all I'm saying, is that there's a lot of weird things.
Just ask one follow-up question.
There's a lot of weird things, but I don't think like George
I have
Bush
a legitimate
planned
question, though. Did it say anything about what that building was? Building
World
number
Trade
7
Center?
that crumbled?
Yeah, I mean, I'll totally be honest that I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was definitely like, it's like government stuff, like blah, blah, blah. But I don't,
Like, I'm just wondering, is there like a point? Like, who benefits from building number 7 crumbling?
No, you're right. I don't, like, I wish I remember. It's definitely one of those things with like, oh, there's paperwork in here, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, it's like New York. There's like paperwork that could incriminate
It's
anybody.
fucking- any building in New York could crumble. Who knows? Watch out.
But it's just weird, man. It's just weird. Like the chain of events that happen, and like people who, like the guy who is the World Trade Center, guy who like built the World Trade Center afterwards said that this is impossible. Like it's impossible for a plane. We built it. Like there's a documentary of that being built.
Well, gotta defend his rat.
And there's a documentary in the 70s when they built the World Trade Center that talks, and the guy is specifically saying as they're building it, they're like, oh yeah, this is all this steel, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, well, we built it to withstand, if an airplane, a helicopter was to crash into it. We built it so it could withstand that. Because it's, a building that's 150 stories high,
yeah.
it could be a problem. That's all I'm saying. And we want to start talking about the Pentagon, because we can go into that too. There's no footage anywhere of a plane hitting the Pentagon. Anywhere, there's no plane footage. So I don't know what we're in the Pentagon, but the last time that American Airlines 747 crashed into a building, the hole that it made maybe was a little bit bigger than like the hole that I would make by running into a building. But that's how big the hole in the Pentagon was, and they said the plane disintegrated. Disintegrated?
Wow.
That's all I'm saying, man.
Physics, man. Crazy.
That's all I'm saying. I don't think it was like huge conspiracy. I just think there's more going on than we're allowed to know.
Final follow-up question before we get to emails.
And JFK was the same thing.
That's what I was going to ask. You think JFK?
I just
Another
finished reading
conspiracy?
this book that was like 1,500 pages long about the JFK conspiracy, where this guy This I can't remember his name. Famous author says I'm going to debunk
Roald
it
Dahl.
once and Roald Dahl. Roald Dahl.
Sorry.
J.K. Rowling. She's going to debunk it for the it's done. Like it's Oswald acted alone, and it was very convincing. But I still don't think it's true.
You don't think he acted alone?
I don't think he acted alone.
I agree with you. Okay, emails.
But
No,
that's
not
not to
emails.
say that he didn't shoot somebody.
every week, not emails,
That's not to
yeah.
say that he didn't shoot somebody. Like I bet Oswald was there. I just think there was more people involved.
Oswald.
I find that stuff
Cobblepot.
fascinating.
It's really crazy, man. It's like as soon as you start like looking into it and reading about it, it's just crazy like how much we don't know all the time. Like that's all that it is. Did we go over time for emails?
So the Assassin's Creed skit.